Hi, I'm Scott. Thank you so much for joining me this week for 45 RPM. I'm so glad that you could be here. I'm going to begin this week with the first part of a two-part series on how to talk to and how to help grieving people. This week I'm going to talk about three things that you do not say to grieving people. There are three things that you should just not say. You don't do it. And I really want to help make you helpful to those people around you who are grieving, who are hurting. We've all been there. We know how it feels whenever you're desperate on the inside for hope and answers, and you're just hurting. And you've had these people come up to you and say things, and there are three things that I hope you will never say to someone who's grieving. The very first thing that I hope, and I want you guys to get a piece of paper, write this down, put it in your brain. Don't say this to grieving people. The first thing that I want you to not say is a very common thing you hear whenever someone comes up to you while you're grieving. And that is this: you know, this could really be God's plan. This might be what God has in mind. God has a purpose and a plan for what you're dealing with. Look, folks, I understand that God has a plan. I know that God knows what He's doing, and He knows better than I do. I understand that. But when you're hurting, and when you're grieving, when you've just lost a child, a parent, a loved one, you're going through a divorce, the last thing you want to hear is that God did this to you. There are a lot of different ways to look at that, and that's fine. I have complete and total faith that God knows what He's doing. I know that, and I understand that. But I just cannot stand it whenever, for instance, we lost a child one time, and I had a lady that came up to us while we were grieving the loss of this child in a church service that said, you know, it's God's will that this happened. That child could have been retarded. That child could have had disabilities. That child might have had this or that or that or that or that, and He's helping us. In the long run, this is going to be better. Well, I understand all of that, and that's fine. I get it. But when you're hurting and when you're grieving, it's not the time to come up to someone and tell them how good God is by making you hurt. You know? Wait. Just wait. One day you'll be able to talk, and then you can hash out what you believe that God is doing and how you feel God is leading you. But that is not the time. The second thing that I want to tell you about is probably one that I'm guilty of this, and that's this. Well, I'm praying for you. Wait a minute, Scott, you're saying don't tell people that you're praying for them? No, I'm not necessarily saying don't tell people you're praying for them. I basically am telling you, don't tell folks that as a way to get out of the conversation and then walk away. If you tell someone you're going to pray for them, then you do it. One of the habits that I have tried to have in my own life is that whenever God puts someone in front of me to help and to try to comfort, I want them to know that I'm praying for them, and I want to tell them that, and then I will say, you know, I will be praying for you, I will be remembering you, and then I do two things. One is right then I'm praying in the back of my mind. I'm already saying, God, touch this person, help this person, comfort this person, give them peace. That's already going on. When I tell someone I'm praying for them, I'm already praying. I don't have to have, you know, everyone hold my hand and go, God, Lord, I need you. You know, I don't have to do that. I'm already praying as I'm telling that person, I'm praying for you, and I'm already doing it. And then the second thing that I think is very important whenever you tell someone that you're praying for them is that you check back with them. I'm guilty of this. I'll pray for someone. I'll be really trying to help that person, and then I don't come back and let them know that I have been praying for them, and I want to know how they're doing. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of all of these. But that's, I guess, if you had to put this one on there as the number two thing not to say to a person who's grieving, it would be, don't tell someone you're praying for them and then walk away. Don't do it. Finally, the third thing that I want to say to you about something you do not say to someone who's grieving is a simple thing. I know how you feel. Don't do it. Don't ever tell someone, I know how you feel. I know what you're going through. I know what it feels like in the position you're in. Listen, if there's one thing that is a pet peeve of mine, it's someone telling me, I know how you feel. Because the first thing I want to do is pop them and say, you don't know how I feel. You don't know what's going on inside of me. Now, I will say that it's easy sometimes for us to say that, and we have good intentions. And I may have gone through what that person is going through. You know, that person has just lost a child. I've lost a child as well. So I go up to that person and I say, you know, I know how you feel. No. I go up to that person and I say, I have been there too. And I can't say that I know exactly how you feel, but I can tell you I have been there and I know how I felt. And it is a place where I just want someone to pray for me and love me and be there for me. I want you to ingrain in your mind to just take out of your whole vocabulary the phrase, I know how you feel. Don't do it. Don't say it. Instead, say, I have been there too. Or, I can't imagine what it's like going through what you're going through, but... You know what I'm saying? Don't relate to people. Show empathy and sympathy for people. But don't ever assume that you know exactly how that person feels. Because you don't. Every situation, every person, every heart is different. Everyone. And you'll never understand 100% what that person is feeling, even though you may have been there too. So that is 3 things that you don't say to the grieving. Now next week I want to invite you to come back. Next week I want you to come back and hear the 3 things that you do say to the grieving. 3 things that you do want to say and that you do want to express to someone who's hurting. And you can be a useful touch from God to that person. You can do it. So join me next week as we strive really hard to go out there and touch a grieving world and give them heaven.